What is going on, my super sandwiches? Rhymestyle here, and today I'm joined by DFree for a Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle discussion, which is something that I don't do very often on this channel. Usually I just like playing the games, doing the 7 videos, yada 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 yada. But global Dokkan is just something I kind of want to bring up and talk about. Number one, to see you guys' thoughts, and two, to see what we can potentially do to make it more playable. Let's say that. It's not fun. It's just it's so far behind and it needs to get adjusted. So the first question I want to ask everybody watching this video is, do you play in a Japanese version or global? Now if you play both, which one is your main account and why? Comment it down below. The second question I want to toss out there is what do you think should change in regards to global? Because let's be real now, DFree, can global do better?
Global's been able to do better since day one. That's the thing.
But they don't.
Yeah, they don't. And I think that people need to understand one thing in particular. You have to get out of your head that Global's going to catch up to JP. It's just not possible, right? The game came out 6 months later. The only way the game can feasibly catch up is if they do one of two things. They just shoot out content repeatedly back to back to back to back at a faster pace than JP does, so eventually they catch up, or JP just stops putting out content altogether, and
which
Global
will never happen.
Has a breakneck pace, right? And that will never happen. So at the moment, right, Goku Blacks about to come out this week. He came out October 20th on Japan. That's how long ago that was.
5 months behind, right? Is that how many?
Yeah,
5, 6 months.
And this is kind of another thing Global does, which we'll talk about a little bit. But at the same time, they put out the Big Bang, or the Kamehameha one for the Broly event. That banner that came out on November 10th, so it actually is out before Goku Black, when it technically wasn't out before on JP, so it's a little bit sooner. I don't know, but regardless, Global since day one. I remember being a main player on Global. They were just repeating the same events over and over and over and over, and they haven't been able to really get past that. And I feel like they can do a lot better.
Yeah, isn't correct me if I'm wrong here, but wasn't the last banner that came out before this Big Bang Kamehameha one, whatever it's called, wasn't the last event that came out Omega Shenron, which came out exactly a month ago?
Well, I mean, there was... See, the thing is, Global... I'm looking at DBZ Dokkan stats right now, right? They skipped over the Dragon Ball Fusions banner, right?
Yep.
They had the... that came out on October 5th on Japan. They had Omega Shenron directly before that.
Before you get to the next point, I do want to mention this. Initially, everybody was waiting for that banner to come out on Global before the game came out, but now that the game's out everywhere because it came out in Europe a lot later. It came out, I believe, February 17th. We were all waiting for February 17th before the banner came out, but the banner was still not released. So
yeah,
the fact that they dropped the ball on that is really bad. But go ahead. What else you were going to say?
Well, I was saying right before Omega Shenron, who was the last big thing, they dropped Dragon Ball Heroes, which they skipped. They skipped Dragon Ball Fusions, and then they recently just had, and it may still be up, I don't know, I think it just went away actually, that Rising Dragon Carnival banner. So that they're kind of on pace, because they're going to have the Goku Black banner, and then immediately after that they're going to have the God banner, which is on pace. But then after that it's supposed to be a Raleigh, which they're probably going to skip as well. And now they have that Kamehameha one too.
Okay, so to kind of address two issues. Here's the two issues. Number one, licensing, and number two, the control of Global Dokkan. Now, what a lot of people don't know is Bandai US and Bandai Europe have no control or say over Global Dokkan. Actually, Japan controls both the JP side and the global side of the game for whatever reason. I don't know why. What they should do, and you know, this is a suggestion that we can all agree with, is they should turn that over to US, to Europe, have them run it. Because since Japan is running 2 versions of the game, they're going to prioritize the Japanese version anytime. And of course, when that happens, you run into a lot of issues. You focus more on the JP side because that's like basically their main focus over there. And then like you kind of do the hand-me-downs on the global side. And stuff clashes, and that's the problem. Unfortunately, all Europe and global or US can do is just be at the mercy of Japan until they decide, oh yeah, you can do this now. Here's the assets. Promote it. That's all they can do. So the first thing I want to say is they really need to figure out, you know, whether or not it's worth turning it over. And the answer is yes, it is worth turning over. Because if US and Europe are actually focusing on the global side of the game, then it's a lot more easier to kind of, number one, take direct feedback from the community. Because US and Europe tend to listen to the customers and fans a lot more than Japan does. And two, it kind of allows them more control over what they can and can't do in regards to licensing. Because, like, for example, Dragon Ball Fusions right now, the banner is not going to come out because probably of a licensing issue. Dragon Ball Heroes will never see that kind of content on Global, probably because of, again, licensing. And like you said, Arale most likely will get skipped because of licensing. I don't know much when it comes down to licensing. I just know that when it comes to Japan and their licenses, they love it and they follow them to a T. But the first thing that Global will need to do, and if anybody from US and Europe happens to be watching this video, like, I'm sure they're all like, yeah, we've been saying this, but there's nothing we can do about this. But keep fighting for it, man. Y'all need to get control of global and do more events, because like the thing about Dokkan is what makes it so fun is every single week on the JP side, and I've been on JP side for the last couple months. Every single week there's something cool to do, and not just something to do, but a lot to do. When you go through these dry spells where it's like you do everything in the first day, it's like, well, time to wait another 2-3 weeks for the next big banner or the next big event. It hurts. It hurts the game. Like it declines, the retention decreases, and then you lose more and more players to the Japanese side of the game. Initially, when I was playing global, I didn't want to play a Japanese version because I had so many good cards and units on my global side of the game. I had just pulled Gogeta and stuff like that. But then it kind of started slowing down. Then I went to JP and I pulled Vegito. And then with the decline of global, I started playing more JP. And now my JP account is superior to my global account, which makes me now want to play global even less. So the problem is whatever main you have, whether it's JP or global, you keep playing that. But if you cross over and you start kind of passing whatever your old man account was, it will further make you not want to play your previous main, which in my case was global. So, I mean, what do you think about that?
No, I agree. I kind of did something similar because for the longest time I had mained global, and I was like on my channel, even on my channel, I was like, yo, I can't get into JP, global's my main. But then global started going into these dry spells, and I was like, okay, well, I want something to play. And JP's not perfect either. It does its own dry spells too, but they're nowhere near as long as globals are, because global gets into these lulls and they just don't do anything. And I don't understand why they do that when, if you look at it, like you said, they're handled by the same teams, but at the same time, it shouldn't be that hard, because all it should feasibly be, aside from like, you know, like you said, licensing and things like that, it should only be a translation, because you already have the data in the file, all the assets are already downloaded via data download. It should just be there, so they should put it out, but I don't know what they do with the game. And I understand if people like main it, because obviously they put investments over there, they've paid over there, or whatever the time is, they've spent their time over there. It's just the game has a lot of room for improvement, in my opinion. And I do think that, like you said, maybe just giving them their own branch to handle it, because obviously the Japanese team that handles the Japanese version and the global version is going to say, okay, well, JP's our big money maker. We're going to keep funneling all of our time into this, and then we'll get to global whenever we get to global.
Now, I know global could. Like, they've done it before. I think One Piece... No, I think Japan controls One Piece as well. But I know Digimon, and I think something... I forgot what the other game was. There's another gacha game that global is actually allowed to play with. And if they've done it with those games, they should do it with global too. Now, the big question I want to ask to those who are watching this video, as well as you, DFree, is... Now, we noticed that Goku Black was changed from the global version to the JP version. If they do that with more units, would that make you want to play both or global more? Or, like, how would you feel about that? Because, personally, I'm not a fan of that. And the reason why I'm not a fan of that is because, well, like I said, I put so much time into the JP side, and it's like now we're getting different stuff on global, but the same cards. It's like, I mean, I guess I think that's why they're doing it, but at the same time, it's like, it's kind of like a slap in the face. Like, oh, well, Goku Black is so cool on global, but, I mean, he's still great on JP, but, like, the fact that it's different, it's just like, this is the same game. It shouldn't change that much. Now, that's not me complaining about it. It's just that if that is why they did that, it's not the right way to bring more attention to global. Because, like I said, the #1 thing that Bandai Japan can do right now is give US and Europe the control of global, and then US and Europe can then talk to the fans and the customers directly, like everybody who plays the game directly to players, and get that direct feedback, because they actually are able to, you know, implement stuff directly without having to deal with going to Japan. Because, like, right now the way it works is we send feedback. US and Europe sends it to Japan, and then Japan just kind of does what they want at that point. But if it's like, if global was in control of US, for example, they would get the feedback and then implement probably based on what we want, and then also be able to execute all within the same week. So that's kind of like the situation that we're at right now. But what were you going to say?
And I was going to say really quick, you brought up One Piece before I answer your question about Goku Black. And we talked about licensing being a problem. For a long time, it seemed like global was never going to get that One Piece crossover. Came incredibly late due to licensing issues.
So exactly. That's
you
what
can
it was.
see exactly where their issues are with this game sometimes when it comes to content releases. So that may be part of the reason why they slow down. But in regards to Goku Black, I did kind of talk about that a little bit in a video. But basically, my thoughts on it are, you know, I feel like when he came out to JP, just really quick, when he came out to JP, he came out and obviously the show Dragon Ball Super was heavily invested in Goku Black at the time.
Right.
So I feel like he was mainly like a hype banner, because if you look at his banner, it was just him. He was just kind of there. He had Broly on the banner, but there was nothing else worth pulling for on that banner. So when he comes out to global, and I think that they're finally starting to look at global, like, okay, these guys know what's coming out. They're aware of the Japanese version of the game. And honestly, I feel like if they didn't improve him, people were just going to skip the banner. To be completely frank, I feel like people are still going to skip the banner anyway because he's going to be on the Rosé banner or the Vegito Blue banner, one of those two.
Keep that in mind, folks. Pulling Goku Black is exciting in the first week, but he's going to come back in an even better banner. So if you don't want to go crazy on the stones, then we don't recommend it. But then again, if you can't wait, then do what you need to do. But
yeah, I feel like that's the only reason why they did it is just because they don't one of two things. They don't have that hype factor for Dragon Ball Super Goku Black because it's not there yet in the English dub. And believe it or not, there's still people that are not aware of what's happened on the Japanese version of the show. So they don't have that to rely on. And on top of that, they wanted to make sure that he was actually a feasible unit to summon for. Not to say that he was bad. Don't get me wrong, but it's just his banner was unimpressive. And he's not the only unit like that because JP did that with Super Saiyan Blue Intelligence Vegeta. His banner's kind of worthless to summon on. You know, there are the Cell, STR Cell, like his banner's highly forgettable too. It's just, I feel like they'll probably do things like that. And then, obviously, I don't think they'll change up Rosé and Vegito Blue, those big name banners that are going to perform.
I'm pretty sure they'll change up like the filler ones, like you said, like Cell. But
yeah,
I mean, the thing is again, when it comes down to it, everybody has a preference. The cool thing about if you play global mainly, you know what's going to come. You know when to save your stones. If you
know what's going to come eventually. Maybe sometimes stuff doesn't come. But yeah, I agree.
If you play JP, it's a surprise every single week, and of course, you know you got the disadvantages of both. Number one, global. There's these dry spells. And it's like this. Here's a good way to describe it. It's like you're grounded at home, and you're looking out the window, seeing all your friends play with their Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegetas, and you're home, playing with your Gogeta and your Super.
You're reminding me of those SpongeBob and Patrick memes on the Reddit.
That's exactly what it is. I don't know. I mean, overall, I just kind of want to do a discussion just because I feel like it was needed. And I want to know your thoughts. Like I said, let us know what your thoughts are on global versus JP. Which one do you main on? So do you play global mainly or JP mainly? If you play both, pick one that you play mostly. Don't say I play both because this is kind of like a feedback thing to see what the community is actually at. And yeah, that's it. If you want to change something, like any suggestions you guys have, also let us know in the comments. But overall, though, I mean, the exciting thing is Global's about to get some exciting stuff over the next couple weeks. Like I said, the God banner is coming out very soon. The cutoff is on the 20th. After that, we get all our tickets on about April 2nd, I think that's what it was.
26th, I believe, is the cutoff. Unless they updated it.
Okay, I thought it was on the 20th. Whatever, it's coming up soon. And then you're going to get a bunch of nice little tickets that you can summon on this amazing banner, which is going to have all the God units thus far in the game, which you can just summon for. So fingers crossed you get what you guys want. Except for Goku Black, I think, because Goku Black wasn't in the God banner for us on the JP side.
Correct, and he shouldn't be on Global either because he should have his own banner going on at the same time still.
Yeah, but then
either way, it's going to be an exciting time for Global. You know, it doesn't matter which version of the game you play. We're just happy that you play.
Yes. So with that said, let us know everything we discussed and your own thoughts, what you guys want to change down below. If you enjoyed today's video, leave a like right below. If you want to see more discussions like this, also feel free to let me know. Like I said, mostly I like to play the games, but every now and then it is kind of fun to jump in with my friends and talk about certain things going on and how we can potentially change or, you know, help out, make the community overall better. So give us feedback on that as well. Anyways, DFree's link is in the channel. I'm sure you guys all know him by now, so go check him out as well and let us know everything we discussed down below. Enjoy the rest of your day, and good luck on Goku Black when the Baron drops, as well as whatever else you're summoning on. This has been Rhymestyle and DFree. We'll see you guys in the comment section below.